It's time to talk about how to conduct a private money lender meeting. And this is a meeting rhythm that I'd recommend that you follow. And there's a few things that I believe you should prepare beforehand. What I'll share is something that I've adapted over time. There's been different versions of this. So I would recommend that you do the same thing. And the information, it's not something that I invented, but as I continued to refine it, it got better and better. Now, my friend Amy Majuri helped me get started in real estate investing. She is literally the queen of private money lending. And if you like what we've covered in this series so far, and you're gaining insight and value from what we cover in this section, you are going to love what I'll share at the end of this video. So let's get prepared to prepare for this topic of private money lender meeting. To prepare, I'm going to ask you to pause the video in just a few seconds because you should be outlining this on your end. So grab a pencil, a pen, something to write on. Or if you're like me, just pull up a note application on your computer and start typing this out. Alternatively, my business partner loves to use the iPad for everything. Either way you slice it, you want to take some notes. So go ahead and pause the video in 3, 2, 1. Pause the video. And we're back. Okay, I'm going to run through a quick list of all of the main topics that you'll want to write down eventually, but I'm just going to blaze through these. So we'll get a chance to write them later, right? There's a bit to go through for each one of these. So I suggest waiting to take these individual notes of these sections until they come up. You actually may need more than one page or the front and back of a page if you're actually writing this out. So these are the top 10 topics to discuss in a private money lender meeting. Now I suggest for you to adopt this as a structure and cater it to the way in which you'd like to speak. You know, if this appeals to you, if it resonates with you, because there are other ways to structure these types of meetings, but this is something that I follow every time. Okay, so here they are. Continue rapport, setting the tone, investments and goals, your company, FAQs and objections, terms and conditions, protection, transaction timeline, current deal, and gaining commitment. All right, high 10. That's it. Continue rapport. Now, obviously, continue rapport implies that this is something you've already started before this meeting has taken place. Now, I mentioned while answering the question, how do I discuss and present private money lending? And that is like just bringing it up in a social setting and kind of planting the seed. You don't really want to go into the full-blown presentation on the spot when you meet somebody. So whether you're at a networking event or at some party function, this is the meeting for that after those interactions, right? So you set a time later. So when I say continue rapport, other than brief small talk, refer back to your initial meeting and maybe one or two rapport points from that conversation. For me, this usually means that I'll ask them in jest if they saw the game, because inevitably, as I always do, I probably purposefully mixed sports metaphors and revealed that I know nothing about sports. But I do love people who are really into it, okay? It's not what I'm saying. But seriously, I am completely lost when it comes to sports. And 9 times out of 10, it gets a laugh, okay? Consider this. He sits down, she sits down. Hey, did you see that 3-pointer end zone chip at the bottom of the 9th? It was a fly ball touchdown. You saw the game. Now, I simply transition from there into sharing something like, yeah, but after I watched that game, I did spend more time preparing for this meeting, so I do have an agenda. Now, it's important to note that really, there is prep work that goes into this. Mostly, it's just a simple email sending some information. I use a PDF that I've added to over the years, which I didn't originally create. It was a template. I call it putting your money to work for you. In addition, I also send some videos that I've already pre-recorded. One's private money lending, where it's a video where I share all about a case study of standing outside a recently renovated property. And the other one is where I just break down the entire process. So you might not have those resources available. And that said, it's a good idea to stick around to the end of the video because I have something to share with you that you'll likely get a lot of help getting your ducks in a row if you don't already have those resources created. So remember, I've been telling you this since the beginning of the video, but I want to share that with you. And I'm excited, but there's a lot to go through. And the next one is setting the tone. So setting the tone for me pertains to discussing the prep that went into the current meeting. And that is, I'll let them know that I actually do have an agenda. In fact, when I'm having these meetings, they'll last about 45 minutes to an hour. And this is where I'll absolutely want to thank them for their time, let them know that my intention is to respect their time and never waste it. And I'll actually show them, I usually carry this around digitally, on the iPad, that meeting that I prepared, like the outline that I prepared for the meeting, which is what you're creating right now, the top 10 topics. And I'll just run through the list. And possibly, I may have just made a terrible mixed sports terminology joke just now and in the moment as I'm speaking to them. And, I will say, actually, I spent most of my time prepping for this meeting, right? In fact, I have an agenda, and then I'll share it, right? And I'll let them know that I'm sharing this to you because I don't want there to be any mystery as to where we are in this meeting or what's coming next. So that is to say, we'll be discussing, and again, I'll point to it as I scroll on my iPad here, I'll be discussing your current investments, if any. And we'll get kind of personal. We'll discuss that I'm also not just looking for a one-off loan. And as such, the last agenda item on here, and again, I'll literally point to the iPad, is gain commitment. What does that mean? Well, we're going to talk about it because, I want a longer term relationship. I'll let them know that if this is something that's great, it's like, yes, I want it. Then just give me a yes. And if it's something they're not really interested in, or maybe it's just not right now, let me know that. You won't hurt my feelings. So I quickly review the entire agenda as, it's usually a whole lot faster than we're discussing it right now in this video. But I'll say that I have an agenda like this, and that it really makes the transitions easy, and it displays a very high level of professionalism and transparency, and it also shows that you actually care. You've thought this through. This is not your first rodeo, and even if for you watching this video, you've never actually been this intentional with a private money lender meeting before, you've never had a private money lender meeting, and it actually is your first rodeo, then you'll look like a rock star.
Hey everyone! Come and see how good I look!
So transitioning, we'll go to reality and goals. Typically the transition from setting the tone to reality and goals is really simple because I literally just showed them the outline. I shared with them how long they can expect this meeting to take. So just dive right in and say, hey, I promised you that we were going to get personal, right, over the next 45 minutes. That it's now time to talk about your investment goals and your current investments. So let's dive in. Now, if I didn't already know what interested them the most about private money lending or the experiences they've had in lending on real estate deals, I'd definitely ask that. Additionally, I'm always curious if they've ever loaned money to anyone in any capacity where they were given a promise to repay with interest, something that might be outside of the real estate industry, right? And of course, I would ask, was that experience good or bad? I'll ask what types of returns they saw, if any, and what were their expectations met. And based off whether or not their investing was positive or negative in the past, I'll then share with them the same information that I covered when we were answering the question, what is private money lending? Specifically the part where I discussed the easiest way to explain it in positioning it alongside other investments, explaining that unlike the stock market, where you own a piece of a company as an equity shareholder, with this type of opportunity, you actually have recourse, which is your protection, Mr. and Mrs. Potential Private Money Lender. You got a foreclosable lien in place on the property. That's your security instrument that safeguards your money. And I also share the example of stocks, right? So, if you bought from Circuit City, some stock, I'm first off sorry, and that money's gone because the company went out of business. But I'll remind them the beauty of this venture is that you don't have that risk. And that's the reason that other active lenders in this business continue to lend long term. And I want to plant these seeds because we'll talk about some objections and stuff that come up or common questions. And planting these seeds early really helps with that. You can remind them, hey, early in the conversation, we talked about the returns of the investments that I made, and these are typical investments. So keep that in mind. And really, that's what you want the relationship to be. Clear and concise and open communication. And this is where I'll transition into our company. So your company is next. And by the way, in the your company section, Of course, put your company name in the outline you're creating. This, for me, is where I'll first share a quick personal backstory of my journey into and through real estate investing up to this point, including why I got into business, what I love about it, and I'll also talk about my team. This is really an important thing for me. I'll share their credentials. So because you're taking notes, I'll just bottom line this. My bullet points say Lazarus Property Group, LLC. That's my company name. Me and my business partner, Chris, let's make a deal, right? And then below that, I have our real estate journey. This prompts me to discuss the backstory. But in addition to the backstory, I'll slip in the future goals of our company, because in this subsection of our real estate journey under our company, my logic is this, that our journey's not over, and here is the path that we're charting. And then after that, I've listed our team, meet our team. This is, of course, because I speak to how I'm so thankful for my team, because I am not a master of all trades. I'm simply not. I can't do it all. In fact, if I'm the smartest person in the room, I'm in the wrong room. I speak to leveraging the expertise of my team, which is why I extol them and share their credentials with potential private money lenders. Then, which we haven't covered this yet, I've listed our investment model as a subsection under our company. For me, it's Lazarus Property Group, and you can do the same thing too. So this is where I'll touch briefly on how we're experts in the market we're investing in. I'll share how we stay up to date, including what resources we use. And I'll share what resources we use to continually research an ever-changing market for 2 reasons that you should write down. Number 1, it's to make sure they know that we're not just resting on our laurels, right? We researched the market one time and we're acting as if the market never changes. We're going to continually to stay up to date. And number 2, I want to encourage that potential private money lender to test pilot those same research tools, because part of our process in presenting these opportunities after our team underwrites the deal is I'll put together what we call an opportunity package. It's going to include information that I gathered from those resources, so they can make an informed decision as to whether or not they want to purchase any particular deal that I send to them. And they'll say, oh, I want to move forward on this, or, I'd rather not. Ostensibly, it's just a pro forma. And by the way, if you want to know what resources we use for our own research, click the link in the description where it says Market Research Toolbox. That's what it is. And lastly, in this main section of our company, I have a subsection that I list called Show Me the Money.
Show me the money!
Show Me the Money is where I'll cover common creative ways that current lenders fund real estate deals. And those common ways I actually spoke about when answering the question, who is a private money lender? I shared that if you have money in a 401k, an IRA, an HSA, equity in your home or another property, these are all common ways to lend. It's not an opportunity that's exclusive to people who only have money in a savings or checking account. And many people, by the way, even those who are financially savvy, oftentimes they don't even know about these creative solutions, right? To tap into equity to get solid returns. Some don't even realize they have money. So when you share that, it may open their mind and they can realize they can be a private money lender for your business. And that's why I titled this, Show Me the Money, okay? Now the next section is FAQs and objections. Now this section is pretty self-explanatory, and I'll list my subsections for you here. I have FAQs and objections, and I'll share some questions that you should address in your own meetings with potential private money lenders. And they're questions that you should have an SOP for as well, or standard operating procedures. One of them is addressing, what if I get abducted by aliens and you as the lender eventually have to take the property back? What's the process for that? What happens? What if I don't sell the house for what I projected it to sell for, right? Maybe there's not enough equity in the deal, right, for me to profit. The other question is, what if you as the lender have to pull your money out? Gotta get that boat, man, right? The other question is, what happens if the house burns down or gets destroyed in a hurricane or some other natural disaster? Now, as in-depth as this video is, this top 10 topics to discuss in a private money lender meeting is just an overview, okay? So to understand more about how to answer these FAQs and how to handle the objections we're about to continue with, you can click the link in the description below called PML FAQs and Objections Guide. Okay, I've written these down. I go into a little bit more depth. The common objections you'll likely get though, remember this isn't a sales role, all right? But you'll find that it's best to just kind of put it out there first so you can handle them. Or at least that's what I've found. Because it's not within either of your best interests, your own as a business owner, or the potential private money lender's business or interest to, go through back and forth like, oh, well, what if this happens? What if, just address it ahead of time. So that's why I'm setting the tone. And that's why it's so important to do that. Because, by the way, just despite doing that, I'll always get some of these similar objections. And this is a question I see as an objection. Can I think about it? Now, the answer to this objection is always yes. There's never a time I'd want anyone to feel forced into something like this. But I always have to follow it up with discovery, okay? Because I need to understand if can I think about it actually means no, right? When I already asked them, hey, just give me a straight yes or no answer. Or does that mean I'm still not clear on the process and I have a little bit more clarification to provide, okay? So other common objections, they're really questions, but I call them objections because I think that they kind of are. They're hinting towards not wanting to move forward. Is can I get a higher rate of return than what you're offering? Some more are, can we partner on a deal, like as equity partners first, before I lend? And another one is, will you sign a personal guarantee? The answer to that is no, I won't. Don't do that. Now, again, there really is a whole slew of things that I could come up with. And there's a lot more questions that they could ask, and there are more FAQs and objections to discuss. Again, linked in the description, you can check some of those out more. So now, the next topic here is terms and conditions. Now, terms and conditions, I'll simply just here provide an overview of our lending criteria. That is typical minimums, and I'll speak to my own experience as a private money lender funding my own real estate deals and also other real estate investors' deals. And this will cement the interest rates I'm offering. Remember I mentioned that objection, right? Well, can I get a higher rate of return than you? Well, I'm sharing with them, right, that's what I pay myself. I'll give myself 7%, 8%, sometimes 10%. So that's what I'm giving you too. Now, what I charge myself doesn't ever really go higher than 7 to 10%, but I have in the past gone as high as 12% depending on the deal, right? If it's a smaller amount of money, sometimes I need to get a little bit more out of it, but it depends on the loan, and it depends on whether they're going to be lending in first or second position. And I'll explain that I always pay the principal and interest in arrears in this section, and that is kind of verbatim what I say is principal and interest to be paid in arrears upon resell. And that's, of course, speaking to short-term flips. Now, for long-term buy and hold scenarios that you're leveraging private money lender, for me, I'm happy to make monthly payments and talk about that. In fact, these details in our opportunity package that I give to the lender. And in addition to this, we'll discuss draws for construction. Like, what does that actually look like if we're flipping a property? I'll let them know that we'll be in communication with them through the project as well. And it's always important to make yourself accessible, okay? And the last thing that I usually end this section with is the typical length of the loan, because it transitions really nicely in how they're protected. I'll say, typically we have a 12-month note, no prepayment penalty, and I'll go through the details. This is all on the promissory note, which is the first document we'll cover that actually protects you. And we'll talk about the last section right now, actually, protection. So, transition to protection, and of course, we've already discussed the promissory note, so I'll finish providing the details of that, and then I'll let them know that it's secured by a deed of trust, right, in first position or second position, depending. They're also named as additionally insured, loss payee, and in that section, this point, they should be pretty familiar with all of that stuff if they actually watched the videos and they read the material that I sent them, right, prior to the meeting. So if they read the PDF, they really shouldn't need any more context. If they do, we'll just talk about it, right? It's pretty simple. So the next one is transaction timeline. Now, when we get to the transaction timeline section, my goal here is to be as absolutely brief as possible, but to also at the same time be as helpful as possible to those who aren't always sure about what the closing process looks like or how long it takes. They might not know, from buy to sell side how long it takes, but I'll definitely let them know that on the buy side, it could take a lot longer because it's really dependent and focused on the seller, right? And I can reference examples from that PDF, the putting your money to work for you, and discuss the behind the scenes and what happened in those scenarios. But again, it always is important to let them know that the buy side timelines are very seller dependent and they can change and sometimes they're fluid because we are a real estate solutions company and it is our goal to be flexible with sellers, to cater to the seller's needs. Okay, so moving on, the current deal section. If you have a current opportunity for them to lend on right now that you're under contract with, then you should definitely bring that to their attention and give them a quick overview. In fact, prior to that meeting, you should create one of those opportunity packets to bring to the meeting and show them, hey, this is an active deal that we have, and use that as your example. And maybe you can get it funded right away. Just let them know that when you expect to have one, if you don't already have one, how long that time will be, right? How long you project it will be based off your current lead flow. So gaining commitment is the last one. Really, it's just to let them know that you yourself are committed to their success and that in return, that commitment should come with a commitment from them.
What? Did we just become best friends? Yep.
And as we discussed briefly, we covered why to use private money lenders. This is ensuring that there's positive communication, right? When we talked about that. So you'll both be clear on how to make sure it's a professional relationship that is successful. Now, more than that though, you also want to ask, having a deeper knowledge of this and understanding this opportunity, Mr. and Mrs. Private Money Lender, is this something that really piques your interest? Now, a yes to this question gains you agreement, right? Not necessarily commitment, and we're looking for commitment. So I usually follow that up with a second question. Awesome. Yeah, are you prepared and ready to fund right away? Or on a near deal in the future if I don't have one right now? After these questions and gaining agreement, this isn't really something that I put in the outline, but as a typical outro, if an outro were part of the outline, which I guess it could be, and again, you cater this to you, you may also consider that, ending the meeting with like a set thank you and sharing the thanks and the respect for their time. When you're moving forward, you also want to let them know how long that might be to gain a timeline, right? Based off of your own deal flow, again, and then what it's going to look like for you to reach back out to them, whether it's phone or email. Because again, if you have an opportunity, you can email them PDF, one of those packets, and then you can call them and talk to them about it, right? So that's a wrap for the top 10 topics to cover in the private money lender meeting. But don't go anywhere just yet because I have something just as important as private money to share with you right now for your real estate investment business. In order to even need private money lending, you need deals. In order to have deals, you need marketing. In order to have a successful marketing campaign, you need to check out the free resource guide where we share the top 5 must-implement investing tools that you can't go without to scale your business. You can click on the link in the description below to gain access to that right now, or simply go to reime.us. That's REIME.us. I'm confident that you'll find a lot of value in that resource guide, and it is completely free. And thank you so much for sticking with me here to the end of this video. And if you're curious about other ways that you can fund your deals, check out our video right here because you're definitely not going to want to miss this. It is all about how to invest in real estate with little or no money. So click right here and we'll see you in the next video.